on Global Sports Broadcasting Network. Cornelius, Brad, Hanna itself. Sponsors along the screen. Check them out as we are talking with you live right here on the network itself. Let's start off with the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Let's go word for word here. The Cardinals offense that looks dreadful without a running game and James Conner. That's simple as that. As much as you're down on Josh Dobbs, and like any other quarterback, if you can't run the football, you're a sitting duck. The defenses are hunting, man, and they got rifles and everything, man, and they're pointing right at Josh Dobbs because they're not worrying about the running game. I don't care if Kyler Murray comes back and you believe it's a better quarterback at that situation. It's not going to change anything. It won't matter if Murray is back. He's not coming back. He's just back at practice. But there's no running game. No fun. Not much is going to happen. And how does this work against Seattle with no running game on the road? Now, Budda Baker is back in camp, and he's practicing also. Still, a question in my mind about this is the future of both these guys. Now, everybody sees the reports today that they're back at practice, but are they still going to make it back onto the field? I have to question it still. I'm not convinced that these are the future Cardinal players. They have great trade value if you're thinking something different, if you're the new front office of the Cardinals. Got to wait and see. I know, it's salvage this season when you're 1-5. If you have a plan and it does not include Murray and it does not include Budda Baker, there's a trade deadline and see what happens. See what happens. The Cardinals' struggles on offense is because of no running game. Kyler Murray is not going to help that. Trust me, not happening. Don't forget what it was like before he got hurt. Just put it out there for you. What was preventing us from targeting the Cardinals early in the year was they were a cautious offense, right? Control the ball, run the ball, get the tight ends involved, right? And they've done a really good job of that this season. Not all at one time in one game, but it's been effective. It's a small game, short passes, right? Not taking a whole lot of shots downfield, and use the clock and rely on your defense that has played well at times and sometimes fantastic, right? But that's like skating on ice, thin ice. And once the crack's happening, then it starts to slowly soften up, and then you fall through. And that's what's starting to happen with the Cardinals right now. Injuries, things like that, starting to happen. The depth on that roster was thin anyway. Without Conner in a strong running game or an effective running game, they're turning the ball over 5 times in 2 games, the Arizona Cardinals. And I believe it'll be a problem against Seattle with their defense. It's going to be more turnovers. If there's no turnovers, the Cardinals got a great shot. But the math and what we have lined up for you right now, it doesn't match. Cardinals offense, what they're going to put out there against Seattle, does not match up well against what Seattle's defense has been doing. Now, Seattle's defense is not outstanding, but they do make you they do force turnovers, and the Cardinals are turning the ball over now. And they're turning the ball over because their offense is pretty minimal. It's limited. So defense are more aggressive, right? This is not all about Josh Dobbs' decline, and I told you so. You can put Kyler Murray in that same situation on Sunday, a healthy one, ready to go, and you'll get the same result. And I am not backing off of that, too. I don't forget pre-injury, by the way. I don't forget that. I still don't know what to make of the Seattle's defense, though, at times. They're 10th in knockdowns, getting after the quarterback pressures. They're 12th in the turnover ratio, meaning that, they got turnovers, but they're also turning the ball over. So that could help the Cardinals out. They're 14th in quarterback pressures overall and 16th in opponent's scoring rate, basically. So they're outside of the top 10 in so many important metrics with their defense. But somehow they've had a great start. They're having a successful season. Is it just the opponents they're playing? They also allow, this is the Seahawks, they also allowed 5.2 explosive plays per game. That I would put my hat on if you're the Cardinals or any team. You got to take shots downfield. You got to throw the ball plus 20. Again, explosive plays, or find a play, design a play that is explosive on offense. Seattle gives up explosive plays. Now, that's the mark that a lot of teams know. We saw that against Seattle when they played the Bengals, which is above average, though. They have 2 defensive touchdowns on the year. So, in the beginning of the year, we thought Seattle would be average in that ballpark area. And I still believe they'll end up there, right? But they seem to be more stabilized. They seem to be a little bit better from what the predictions were preseason. And they are playing football better than the Cardinals. And it's in Seattle. Now, I still don't know something else there. Zach Ertz, not effective without the running game. I'm not quite sure what the Cardinals need to do, though. They targeted him like 5 or 6 times. He had like 2 catches in the last game in their loss against the Rams. So Zach Ertz, you got to get both their tight ends involved to help maybe open up the running game. You got to somehow loosen up, get those linebackers thinking something else. Now, I know it's hard for Josh Dobbs when there's a lot of pressure, right, coming up, their blitzes and things like that. But there's got to be better offensive design plays to get these guys open more without the running game. Now, can they find the way to effectively run the ball against Seattle? We'll find out. But there's not a lot of talented running backs. They're missing James Conner. That's a big deal if you're the Cardinals. And that opens up the short game. That opens up all the tight ends. Now, last week, if you look at the numbers, a lot of those numbers that the Cardinals put on were garbage time. They were winning 9-6 at halftime. With the running game, with James Conner there, I believe they would have been up 21-6, say. That's why the Cardinals need to focus more emphasis on more talent on the offensive line in the offseason and in more depth with some greater players besides James Conner as a running back. They really have to establish that, because right now you have Josh Dobbs, a rookie quarterback, and an injured Kyler Murray coming back, not knowing where he's going to be and what level he's going to be at, and if he can ever get back to some high level that he was playing, during his career. There's a lot of questions there, but you better have a running game and and you better get some talented offensive linemen besides the one they got in the offseason, Paris Johnson. You got to keep building that up, and I know they will. They will. Because that will change the game itself. It makes so much easier for any quarterback when you have a running game. It's so much easier, right? It's a big part of football. It's a big part of offense. Run the ball and throw when you have to, or throw and then run the ball. It keeps the teams off. All those defenses are off balance. It's logical. Common sense. But when you're one-dimensional without a running game, you're done. You're cooked. You may hang around, but eventually it's going to fall apart. And your defense can only do so much, right? Or your defense is going to be tired because they're just, beast mode for as long as they can go. And then by the fourth quarter, the second half, which we've seen the Cardinals kind of fade in the fourth quarter this season. If you haven't noticed, there's been some struggles in the fourth quarter on defense. They're tired. The depth on defense is not there. And I'm talking mostly linebackers and the defensive line. Pressures, quarterback pressures, tackling, filling the gaps better. There's something there, but I believe it's fatigue. Okay. All right. More about the Cardinals in this game. Zach Ertz, also Michael Wilson, the wide receiver, who the expectations were growing of even this guy being a stud, but he was not involved a whole lot in that Ram game last week. And without that running game, again, everybody gets affected. Okay. McBride, the other tight end, had a good game, but most of those yardage and stuff came later in the game. Okay. The Cardinals offense is what it is. If you're going to bet this game, I would not bet the Cardinals. If you do and you win, you're going to win some good money. But to me, they're an underdog. They're a good underdog. They're looking at 1-6. They battled the Cardinals. They showed a lot of good effort and intensity and urgency, and they maximize all their abilities, and the coaching staff did a good job of putting guys in the right spots. They got some good ball players, but they just don't have enough. But I'm not down. I see promise. I see a future. I see a potential offseason that can really elevate this team in its second year under the new head coach. It could be flipped that quick. We'll have to wait. But 3-win season was what it was supposed to be at best. We'll see where it gets. The schedule doesn't get any easier, and the team doesn't get any even better. And then you just start thinking about it. Why rush Kyler Murray? Your season's done, right? Why rush him? Unless they want to see what he has. I mean, there's so many scenarios with this guy right now. But if that's your quarterback, then why bring him back? What's the rush? Your season, you're going to be 1-6. You're going to be 1-7. He won't be ready, folks, until November at best. Remember that. He's got to ramp up. He's been out for a while. And even then, right? So I would say just, Kyler, we're not going to push you, man. We're not going to push you. We'll see how it is towards like December and maybe get you some reps in the game and just kind of get you flow back. So next season we got you, right? That's pretty much the best scenario. If not, if that's your guy, why risk it in a losing season? And then you got chances to get better draft pick or a higher draft pick. It's not called tanking. It's called smart, protect your future, right? If that's what they're thinking. Something still tells me that he's not part of the future still. And it's a wait and see game, and it's wait and see what they have and wait and see what they can get and find in the offseason maybe. Now, there is a trade deadline coming up. Budda Baker's out there, and, he's got another year on his contract. Now, it's not a big rush to get him back on the field either. Don't want to get him hurt, but if they're thinking about trading this guy, you can do it now and get a nice draft pick, or you can do it right before the NFL draft in 2024, because he'll be playing 1 year on his contract. And he's probably going to test the waters anyway. And if you lose out on that, then you lost out on getting a nice draft pick out of the guy. You really are. Now, Cardinals went down this road before in their past history with some safeties, right? And they let them go, and they continue to have some good career seasons, right? That's still possible. But the Cardinals are building for the future still. And this season is all about what? Finding out who's sticking around next year, guys fighting for jobs, and learning a system that has been in place, inputted, and see who responds to it, and learning, even the head coach, all learning about what they got to do for next year. So they have more clarity. Yes, they're going to battle. They're going to fight because you got to find out who you are. And what the coaches are looking, and the players are battling. That's why they're fighting. They're fighting for jobs. And that's what's going to happen towards the end of the season. They're going to be fighting for jobs for next year. They're going to have to prove themselves. But most, it's like the new manager at a new company or that somebody else is stepping in. They're going to see how you do. And then slowly people will be disappearing or they're going to let go or things like that. Because they have a way or a vision of what they want. And we've seen already guys released and cut from the Cardinals from the summer and until as early as today. So just put this all in perspective, Cardinal fans. Breathe. Don't worry. Don't get upset. Stop the whining and the complaining. This year is the bridge. Let's cross the bridge. Let's get to the other side and let's see what the Cardinals have. They got a tough game against Seattle in Seattle. Doesn't look good. Seattle does make mistakes. And the Cardinals may hang around, but that running game is the only way they can sustain their offense for 4 quarters. But we'll see what happens. The Seattle turns the ball over, and that could be turning into points and keep your team alive in the